Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, we are back from the holidays. Obviously, there's still more holidays to celebrate, but the market is officially open today, obviously. So as usual, let's talk about what is happening, what we can expect moving forward, and all that good stuff. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is below in the description of the video where you get access to my intraday thoughts on Tesla as it's moving throughout the day. Not a lot of posts today as I was out most of the day celebrating with my girlfriend's parents today. Yesterday was my parents. Today was my girlfriend's parents. But nonetheless, let's talk about it, right? So what happened? So Tesla up on the day with a nice, beautiful 1.6-ish% on the day compared to the QQQ. But, ever so slight outperformance, right? Nothing major though. But the main thing I'm looking at is going to be something like this. So let's talk about a couple of things. The first thing I want to actually really quickly mention is going to be something that's weird. Something that, I don't know, a bit of an anomaly happening. Let me go ahead and quickly pull up this just to really make sure. Yeah, see, this is the weird part. So we have TSLQ, right? TSLQ is, of course, the inverse of what Tesla is doing, right? It is literally the inverse of Tesla. But it's weird because here, and even on TradingView, if I open up TradingView quickly here, right, you can see on TradingView and on TrendSpider, you can see right over here, TSLQ down substantially, right? 13.32%, while Tesla's up only 1.62%. Obviously, they always move in tandem, right? Tesla's up 1.5%, TSLQ is down 1.5%, and vice versa. The thing that's weird today is Google is saying that it's only down pretty much the same as Tesla roughly, which is about 1.5, 1.6%. But these two are saying that it's down 13% at $27, right? So there's a bit of a weird thing happening. And technically here you can see it is down from $31 all the way down to $27. So there's something, I don't know what is happening. Apparently they were issuing dividends. Maybe that's messing up with it somehow, but there's something weird happening. So I just thought I'd mention that regardless. But again, they're usually correlated very tightly, right? If one's up 1%, the other one's down 1%. But regardless, just thought I'd throw that out there just in case. Very strange stuff. But nonetheless, moving right into it, Tesla still looking pretty decent, right? There's obviously some work to be done. We're still getting rejected by this overall, 258 to about as high as 260 level, right? This whole area right here. I kind of redrew the ascending triangle potentially here because sometimes one line isn't enough. Sometimes you need to have something like a thicker line, if that makes sense, because the range of movement is just that. The range of movement just requires it. And in my opinion, this is one of those specific situations where I kind of redrew it. So you can see this kind of covers the range of movement a lot better, where we had, range of movement from the ascending part, which is down here. We're constantly making higher lows, right? Which we're still doing, which is good. That's what the bulls want to see, right? But ever since down here, right, we came down, bounced off of it, bounced off, came down, bounced off the bottom part. This is why I have the thicker one, right? Bounced off the bottom part, pretty much 3 candles, 65-minute candles in a row. And now we're pretty much kind of in the middle on the closure from today's candle as well, which is not a horrible spot to be in, as we're consistently getting rejected pretty much at the exact same-ish level, which again is about that 258 to 260-ish level, where we constantly got rejected here, 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 like today even, right? So just, important to understand as the MACD is looking pretty flat, waiting for direction to be picked. Now, if we open up that squeeze indicator, right, you can see here on the squeeze indicator, it is kind of picking a direction, right? Now, it's not as important, or not important, it's not as valuable, at least in my opinion, as it is when you see something like this being shown on the daily or especially weekly. But nonetheless, we can take a look at it, for instance, back here, right? A lot of red circles back here on the squeeze indicator. We know that the red circles mean essentially momentum building up, and green circles implies that, especially following red circles, that it's picked a direction, and this is roughly the direction it'll go based on the bars that are showed. So for instance, remember back here, we were going sideways for quite some time, right? And then ultimately it did pick a direction, right? The green circles, the red circles became green circles with the bars, the downside bars, like the kind of yellow goldish bars, right? Which implies the squeeze will happen to the downside. Well, that's kind of what happened over here, right? And then we did obviously go to the downside. So, take that for what it's worth. And then now, once again, we're kind of doing the same thing, except this time the bars are to the upside. So to me, it tells me that there's a higher chance that sometime, maybe even tomorrow or Thursday or potentially this week, we might pick a direction. And so far, again, it's not perfect, it's not guaranteed, but it is suggesting that the direction should be to the upside, which if that's the case, the levels I'd be looking at very, very closely are, of course, like I said, going to be pretty much 260, between 258 to 260. That's the level that the bulls really want to break and really start closing candles, ideally above 260. If we end up doing that, that's when, in my opinion, that actually looks better on the weekly. That's when, in my opinion, will really come up to test the red line over here, which is going to be the, of course, like the final boss trend line from all-time highs, right? Where we obviously have, you know, this resistance over here several times. We even tested it right here, rejected off of it pretty substantially, right? If you go from like peak to choke from here, for instance, you know, we went pretty much down about 35%. And now we're once again, pretty much right at it once again, while also hovering the bottom of this blue line, which is the bottom line of that massive ascending channel that we were in as well. Remember that. So they're kind of, you know, coinciding. What kind of X marks the spot. And they're pretty much marking it pretty well together right now, pretty much right here at almost exactly at $265, which is why to me that's the most important level. Now, with that being said, overall, I still think Tesla's looking good. Now, obviously, the big question in the air is still, well, okay, well, do we still get that retest to about the 240s first or not, right? Maybe get a beautiful bounce off this 21 EMA on the weekly, right? We have the 100-day moving average, not too far below it, right? But maybe we get that first, right? Maybe we come down, maybe we get a massive sell-off, we come down, truly retest this, bull flag breakout and then continue onwards, or do we just blast off from here, right? Those are the main two paths. Obviously, things can get more bearish if we do come down to 240 for the retest, but fail it and continue down even further. That's a whole different situation. That's where things get obviously a lot more bearish. But in theory, the probability of that, in my eyes, based on the patterns that I'm seeing and what I'm seeing overall, really the trend is low, but not zero. So, but with that being said, the main things I'm focusing on for now, until obviously proven otherwise, which again, essentially is breaking back into the bull flag, is going to be whether we just rocket from here and break above, or at least at the very least, test 265 first, potentially break above it and then start rocketing up further, or do we go up to 265, reject, and then potentially come back down, right? So that's kind of the main thing I'm looking at right now. And the main thing that's really needed to be done in order to get that retest of about that 265, the all-time high trend line, the blue line, right, which is the breakdown potential bear flag, retest, which could be bad as well. There's still some concerns there because this overall could be, remember this whole thing right here. Let me go ahead and redraw it quickly here, right? Remember this whole situation that we were in, this ascending channel, right? Could still technically be, like I said many times before, could still be potentially a massive bear flag that we broke down out of, currently retesting, potentially might find our way back in. It's not impossible. But, it in theory could still be exceptionally bearish. And if in theory this plays out with that in mind, and this is just nothing more than a retest of this bear flag breakdown on the weekly, a pretty massive one as well, Tesla can easily go back to about the mid 100s, easily, sometime in 2024. Like, I don't know when in 2024, probably somewhere in the middle, maybe slightly later 2024, but probably closer to the middle of 2024-ish. Yeah, it could easily happen. So I'm just saying that is technically a possibility, right? I'm hoping that doesn't happen as a bull, obviously, but I'm not completely ignoring it either, because that would just be a fool's thing to do, right? That's just, I think you have to be a fool to do that. Anyway, but the point I'm trying to make is the fact that that's going to be a very important thing, like this 265, because in my opinion, if we break above 265, we break above this trend line, that could be enough power, enough momentum that's building up. Again, don't forget the squeeze indicators are still red on the daily and the weekly, right? All that pressure is building up. And if we break above 265, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, that could be the trigger that sets off this freight train just waiting to just unleash to a direction. And if it's above 265, and if we break above that, in my opinion, the direction could very well be to the upside, and I think we can see 300 pretty darn quickly, honestly. So, take that into consideration as well, right? That's something important to understand. But overall, the way I'm looking at it to make it extremely simple is essentially as we're essentially within this little ascending triangle or wedge right here. There's these two blue lines right here, right? As long as we're inside that, technically Tesla's still bullish, right? And it's not really going to fall down below it until we break like below 250-ish, give or take, right? That's pretty much the level that Tesla bulls really want to defend, because as long as we're above 250, which maintains us roughly within this overall ascending triangle, Tesla's bullish. Now, keep in mind, this pattern technically ends bearish, right? More often than not, I've said this many times, I'll reiterate it once more. When you go into these kind of patterns and you start kind of moving up like this, it's very common for you to boom and then break down to the downside like this. Again, not guaranteed. It doesn't have to. Absolutely doesn't have to. But, it's more often than not, this is what happens. But again, you could easily just do this, bounce off, and then rock it up and, frustrate the bears, if you will, even further, which again, with Tesla, sometimes you really never know. So essentially waiting for confirmation out of this pattern is important. And coincidentally enough, breaking to the north side of this pattern, if we do come up and let's say do it sometime maybe later this week even, is pretty close to 265. It's about 263-ish dollars per share, which even further puts more emphasis on that rough 265-ish level, right? And just how really, really, really important it is to break above it, because that can really set this thing, like it can really take Tesla and really propel it further and really set this like momentum that's building up on the TTM squeeze meter even further, and really, really get a massive rally going for Tesla and really destroy the bears and people that missed out. Because don't forget, remember we had this false breakdown? These false breakdowns, like especially something this severe, usually when these kind of things happen, right, this is made to make people FOMO, to make people sell, panic, etc. And then you just rocket up out of there. And then those people that did sell, they start feeling like insane regret. They start buying higher. They just cannot believe Tesla is going this high. Like, let's say we run up to 300 and they start buying at 300. They really don't want to miss out anymore. They already missed out on that rally. They're like, okay, I'll buy. I'm not missing out more. And that's where the top is in. And then we start, dropping from there. I've seen it happen many times. It happened to me like 2 years ago. Same thing happened to me as well. I got shaked off. I wasn't, I got paper handed, if you will. And Tesla just rocketed. I think it was actually, I honestly think it was even this one. I sold too early. I think it was, no, it was not this one. It was, like I said, it was way back when. It was literally this rocket right here. This one that happened way back in 2021. I sold too early. I think I sold, like, this was back when it was at 900. I sold way too early and then it just rocketed back up. And it was the hardest thing ever to just sit here and watch it rocket like this. It was, mentally, it was exceptionally difficult. But nonetheless, it's something that happens with Tesla very often. So again, this is why these kind of situations, the market loves doing these kind of traps to really, really make people regret. People buy higher. They don't want to miss, they don't want to FOMO, or they don't want to miss the FOMO. And yeah, they buy too high. And then anyway, we're getting into like another whole like topic over here, but I'm sure you get the point. But the point I'm trying to make is essentially, again, holding 250, great for bulls, bad for bears. The bears want to break below 250 and the bulls want to break above, as to start, 260 to 258. And the bears want to defend that. And if that is broken to the upside, I think we'll come up to that overall main retest that I'm personally waiting for anxiously, 265. And from there, if we do get there, we'll of course continue talking about it, reiterating it, and just revisiting it overall and understanding, okay, we're here, now what? Like, how is it looking? How are the candles looking? And things like that. So there's a lot of work to be done. The volume today is a little bit lower, but after the holidays, it's not too surprising, at least in my opinion, with a shorter week as well, with New Year's coming up. So wouldn't be surprised if this week ends up being potentially a little bit of a slower week, but we'll see. I don't want to make any, random kind of accusations like that. So we'll see how it goes. But ultimately, those are the main levels: 250 for the downside, hold / break, 258 to 260 to open up the potential to retest 265. And from there, of course, once or if we get there, we'll revisit it and we'll talk about it even further. But all in all, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Actually, really quickly, let's take a look at options flow. I did take a look at it in the morning, but I was obviously out for the majority of the day. So short term, we have a bit of bearish flow over here. Nothing too crazy, but decent premium, decent short-term bearishness. However, longer term, we have a nice little, 700 almost K premium flow over here for calls. 260 calls expiring January 2025. So a lot of time on that as well. So options flow was a lot more bullish earlier. Now it's obviously turning a little bit more bearish in the short term. So we'll see if that ends up translating to the stock itself. But all in all, thanks so much for watching. And as usual, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.